Alright, YouTubers, welcome back to the Angry Nerd Gaming channel. We're going to be taking a look at something a little different today. This is a model of the M2A1 Bradley Infantry Fighting Vehicle. This is an exact replica of the vehicle that I used in the first Gulf War that I was a gunner on. Down to the name on the side with the picture. Now what that was painted on the original was 4x4 sheets of plywood that we used when we dug fighting positions or observation posts and stuff, and we would cover those with sand. We would put wet paint on the 4x4 piece of plywood and then throw the local sand on the top of it and let it stick to it so that it looked like sand from the air or from the top. And I must apologize for the shaky camera work. All this is being filmed on the iPhone. Too, I have one older one mounted above the model to get a downward view, and I have even no idea whether it's in focus or lined up on the model because I can't see from the way I have it mounted. So I forgot to grab my pencil. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, so on the outside of the vehicle right here we had camo net bags strapped to the front, and in there was the regular camo netting with the poles and everything, so those were strapped to the front. We had I can't remember whether that was a can of Mogas or whether it was a 5-gallon jug of water. I think it was a Mogas because it was kept on the outside of the vehicle. Here we had a strapped down box of MREs. And it's been, oh wow, way over 20 years since I've been around a Bradley, so I can't remember all the names of the stuff. But this piece here would fold out and either make like a flat platform, or you locked it in an angled position like this. And right down, these are rubber coverings that ran along the edge of the thing, and there was almost like a tarp in there that you pulled out, and it was about 3 or 4 feet high, and it surrounded the whole vehicle. And you mounted tripods and poles along inside this tarp with the front barrier here, and this thing would actually swim. Wasn't real good at it, but it would swim. Now here we have actual video footage of an M2A1 going for a swim. You can see the swim barrier erected around the vehicle. It's, like I said, it was made out of canvas. It probably wouldn't do very well if it got some bullet holes in it. You can see the tow cable pre-hooked to the tow hook on the back of the ramp. You can also see the storage compartment door there on the left is open and tied open, and that's because the engine on the vehicle is to the right, and the vehicle tended to veer to the right when it was swimming in the water, and tying that storage compartment door open on the left side acted a little bit like a rudder that somewhat helped correct the veer to the right, because it put a little bit of drag on the left hand side. You can see it is not propelled by anything but the tracks turning in the water, so its movement through the water was very slow. It didn't swim very fast. As a matter of fact, we sunk one, and I believe it was the Rhine River in Germany. And we would take a 5-gallon water can and tie a rope to it with like 50 foot of rope and just leave it on top of the vehicle, tied to the vehicle. And that way, if it happened to sink, right, this water can would float to the surface, and that would allow divers to find it, and then they could just follow that rope right down to the vehicle. The tow cable was already hooked up, so all they had to do was take the tow cable from the shore, hook it to the vehicle underwater, and away they went. So yeah, this is a Bradley swimming, and here's one. Here it is coming out of the water. That seemed pretty hard to explain while I was pointing that out on the model, so I thought I would show you. So back to the model. The main armament was a 25 millimeter automatic chain gun. The secondary armament was a 7.62 coaxial machine gun. You had smoke grenade launchers on either side of the turret here, and those were white phosphorus smoke grenades. So if enemies got close to you, not only did it conceal you from enemy sight, but if you had troops close to you and set it off, the white phosphorus would burn the absolute shit out of them. Right here, let me get my pencil oriented properly. Right here was a TOW missile launcher, a 2-tube launcher, TOW standing for tube launched, optically tracked, and wire guided. This was the sighting system, which was 12 power, regular, and thermal sight. This was an auxiliary sight for the commander right there. This is the commander's hatch, the gunner's hatch where I sat, right there. There were 2 antennas that have been removed from this model, one here and one here. Our rucksacks and stuff we mounted to the back of the turret, and this orange thing that you see on the rucksacks was a VGS 17 panel that we put to cut down on the instances of friendly fire, which in our case did not work so well. 4 of our 12 vehicles got taken out by friendly M1 battalion. So like I said, right here was actually 4x8 sheets that we cut in half to make 4x4 squares. This is the actual exhaust of the Bradley right here, and it ends right there, the manufacturers. But we added this tube of, it was the flexible tubing like you would use in air conditioning stuff, aluminum tubing, to vent the exhaust down to the ground. And the reason why we did that was if we were in a hold down position cresting a ridge line or a hill or something like that, the exhaust from the Bradley was really thick and black, and if you were coming up cresting the hill, the exhaust would go up in the air like this, and the enemy could see the exhaust from the vehicle before it ever crested the hill, and they would know exactly where you were going to pop up over that hill. So we vented the exhaust down to the ground so that we could peek over the hill without our exhaust giving our position away. The back piece of the armor was removed right here. You can see it on the front here, green. Mine was green because it was a replacement piece. The original one got broke. The back piece, all of our vehicles removed this piece because sometimes when you were traversing in muddy and bad terrain, debris would get picked up on the tracks as you're rolling forward this way and would get caught in that armor right there between the idler wheel here, the track, and that piece of armor, and either tear the armor up, or occasionally it would like bend it up in there. So just to alleviate that whole problem of debris getting caught in this section of armor right here, almost every one of our vehicles removed this piece of armor from both sides. This was the symbol for our unit, the 24th Infantry Division, that we marked on all our vehicles. This silver right here represents Constantina wire that we kept right there. This was an additional drive sprocket in case the drive sprockets got worn out or damaged, that we've just mounted spare parts all over the vehicle. This was an additional road wheel that we carried, and you can see that these pieces are green because, you know, they were given to us before we went into combat. Our vehicles at the 24th were painted sand color all the time, back even when we were in the States. So when they gave us the additional parts and stuff, they were like factory new parts, and they were not painted, so that's why they're green. So you had an additional piece of tracking here. These were intakes and vents for the engine. The engine for the Bradley sits right in here, engine and transmission. The driver sits right here. These little spots right here are firing ports. The Bradley came equipped with M231 firing port weapons that they're not crew, but the dismounts or the infantry squad that would ride in the back could stick these weapons out these holes right here and fire through using these periscopes. It was not very effective. Those firing port weapons fired 1,500 rounds a minute. They looked like little M16s, but instead of one compression spring in the back, they used a series of 3 compression springs, which gave them ungodly rate of fire, 1,500 rounds a minute. This was a box that we strapped on to the outside or bolted on with a seat belt from the inside. And I can't remember what we had it. I think we had our stove, a little propane. No, maybe it was a little liquid stove, either using diesel or some type of a liquid like that we used to heat food and stuff. It was not a GI issue. So let's spin this thing around and take a look at the other side. There was the driver's, like I say, ooh, sorry for the shaky camera work. I have some issues from the Gulf War, and shakiness is one of them. Okay, so that was the unit symbol right here. This marked the battalion and the company, or let me see, was it the company and the platoon? Maybe that was Charlie Company 1st Platoon. Man, it's hard for me to remember. Another additional piece here. This was a stretcher right here that we mounted in case we needed a stretcher. Here's another seat belt that we mounted, that we took from the inside. I don't know if you can see it right there. Right there, that says Monty. That was the nickname of the guy who sat right in here on the seat on the inside that I'll show you. Commander Gunner. driver, more firing ports, shovel. This is one of the tripod for the swim barrier, mounting the swim barrier. These were bags, big bags of sandbags that were not filled. So there were like hundreds of sandbags in these two bags that we could take out and fill up and use. Additional track in case we had track damage. Let's see, that was like kill markers that I put for vehicles that were destroyed. It's like tanks, BMPs, and planes and trucks and stuff right there. The V again. And I do have to apologize for the shakiness, but it can't be helped. Okay, we're going to remove the top of this model. Now, this portion of it is not detailed on the inside, but it shows where the additional Pioneer Tools axe, sledgehammer. This is the Maddox handle. The Maddox head is mounted somewhere around here. I think it's underneath here somewhere. Tanker's bar right there. These are, can't remember what these are called, but they're used for holding the track together when you're repairing the track. So let's slide it around, take a look, and put the turret back on if I can. Now the tow missile system, which you saw just fall right there, you had to be stopped to fire the tow missile system because it was tracked by wire. So in its travel configuration, it looked like that. So that's what it looked like when it traveled. Had to stop and raise it up like that to fire it. And this model I did put together and paint myself. It's all painted by hand. No airbrush or anything. All painted by actual brushes. Oh, I was going to put that back on. I forgot what I was doing. So we're going to take just a quick look here on the inside. We did some modifications there. Let's raise. This is the troop ramp. It had, oh, excuse me. Okay, that is the tow cable mounted on the back right there. That's a troop access door that the troops could come in and out of right here when the ramp was not down. And the driver from up at the front could lower the ramp. These are just miscellaneous storage compartments. And the driver could lower the ramp down like this, and the troops could exit the back. Now I'm going to stop just a second, and I'm going to take the top off of the model, and we'll look at the inside of it. Okay, so here we are. We've removed the top of the model, and we're just going to take a quick look at the inside, the troop compartment and stuff. Okay, right here, if I can line everything up, these were additional tow missiles. There are 2 standing up right here and 3 stacked right here. So you had these 5 and the 2 that were actually in the launcher. So we carried a total of 7. Now there was a scout version of the Bradley that carried a little more than that. Right around here to the side, all these black little squares right there, those are all 25 millimeter ammunition, and it went up. This is a hallway that went right through here. Sorry, focus. Hallway that went right through here up to the driver's compartment. This is the night vision sight that the driver that stayed right there until nighttime, and he would take it out, mount it to the center periscope right here. You'd take that one out and replace it with the driver's sight, night vision driver's sight. Vehicle was driven not with two sticks, but with this wheel configuration right here. So it drove sort of like a car, but instead of having a full steering wheel, you just had the two grips like that, and you turned it like a car. It was an automatic, so you had forward, reverse, and pivot steer, which would turn the tracks opposite of each other so that you could rotate in one position. His M16 mounted somewhere right in here. These were just access panels. This seat right here is just a seat for one of the dismounts. I'm thinking that we may have removed that, and this entire hallway was just filled up with gear and stuff because we didn't have a full complement of troops. Although they said you could carry 7 troops in a Bradley. Well, yeah, you could carry 7 troops in a Bradley if they didn't bring anything else. This was more food, more MREs. Here is troop seating here, and here, here, and here. Right there, more troop seating. There's also 2 seats that went right there. I have them right here. They are removed and they went there. Actually, one went like this facing forward. The other one went that way facing the back way. And we removed those seats and took the cushions off of them. And what this is that you see right here, come on, focus thing. We built a wooden box to hold ammunition. Here are more 25 millimeter ammo for the main gun. And there were 25, I believe, 20 or 25 rounds, 25 millimeter rounds in each one of these black boxes. And they were chained together or linked together. And so when you ran out of ammunition or you needed to reload, the gunner would, if the turret was oriented this way, he would traverse to like a 45-degree angle, and the door that the commander and gunner could come in and out of to gain access to the troop compartment is right here. And so the troops in the back would open this door while the turret was traversed, and that would line up the ammo ready boxes. And so in a combat situation, they would have to take these boxes down, and I think one of them held like 230 rounds and the other one held something, I can't remember, it's been so long ago. So some of this is AP, some of this is HE, and they would have to, right here in this little section of floor right here, they would have to lay out a link of 25 from one box and hook it together with another box, which would make a link of like 50, right? And you think you're loading up like 200 rounds that you're trying to all link together in this spot on the floor in a combat situation. Now you're supposed to drive to an area where you have cover and concealment, to where they can do it in peace and you're not moving around. But yeah, out in the desert, you don't have a whole lot of cover and concealment, and you don't want to be sitting still all that long. So for them to try to actually link together that many rounds in this space was incredibly difficult to do. So in my vehicle, we removed these two seats and we put a complete upload of pre-linked ammunition for HE and AP in this box, right, that had a lid that opened up this way. So these two guys here, they would just open this lid. These two guys would hold it up. It was already lined up, faced properly, and they just had to grab the end of it, hook it to any leftover ammunition that was there, or if it was completely empty, they would just shove it up and start hanging it on the racks. You hanged every so often you would hang a round up and let the other ones dangle underneath it, and it was pre-linked, right, where it would take everybody else, 5 to 10 minutes to, or sometimes even 15 minutes to reload 200 and something rounds, right? With my design of this box right here, man, we had our reload down to a couple of minutes to get 200 and something more rounds in, because it was already all pre-linked together. I would just traverse, they would just open this door, take off the cover, and start hanging the rounds. Bam, it was really quick. And I had it for AP and HE, and I also on the inside had preloaded magazines of M16 rounds for them in the back, so that they didn't have to worry about loading up magazines for the M16. I think we had like 50 M16 magazines preloaded in that box too. Here on the floor you see some additional, I believe those were additional 7.62 ammunition cans right there. Here, up here in this little red spot, I'm going the wrong way with my pencil. That's the Halon fire extinguisher right there. And yeah, if you set that thing off, you better get out of the vehicle, because it sucks all of the oxygen out of the compartment. Not so bad for the crew up top, because we had hatches up there. But if it went off and the guys were sitting in the back and it was all closed up, it could kill them when it sucked out all the air. So you don't want to set that thing off with guys in the back. So yeah, this design that we used, that I made with my limited carpentry skills out of some of the materials that they gave us, was very, very helpful. And so after a battle, we would go and replenish our ammo box again. So yep, here are the troop seating. This guy faced this way, this guy here faced that way. This was the dismounted squad or team leader that sat right here. This was the guy that wrote Monty on the outside of the vehicle. He sat right here. And they didn't have a whole lot to do in the actual combat. They just rode around and watched through the periscopes and cheered as I blew shit up. Basically, they were on an intercom system. At least the team or team leader or squad leader who sat here had a plug-in right on the back wall right here, and he could be in the tank intercom system. It could hear and talk to the driver, commander, and gunner. So we would give him updates of what was happening. If we were going to dismount them for something, we would tell them, that there were troops to the front, what they would be expecting when they left the vehicle, what they were coming in, because they're coming out this ramp, right? And then they were going to filter out around the vehicle either way. So yeah, I didn't bother painting any of this section in here because you can't see it. So yeah, this is a model of the Bradley. Hold on one second. So yeah, I just wanted to put the top back on. Yeah, so the tow missile system, which is right here, if it needed to be reloaded, right, this is an access hatch right here. I would raise the tow missile system. See if I can do it. Raise it up, elevate it to a 45-degree angle, best I can remember. Traverse this way, about like this, to put it as close to this hatch as I could. And the guys from the inside would pop this hatch, right, and unhook those tow missile system, those tow tubes from the inside, and slide them out this hatch and into the launcher and knock it back down. And I was ready to go again with 2 more tow missiles. So yeah, the M2A1 infantry fighting vehicle. Oh yeah, here, let me show you this. Hold on, pause while I pick something up. Okay, yeah, so dismounted crew, or dismounts. This is hand painted desert camouflage that we wore. The little boonie hat that we had, but we didn't wear in a combat situation, but that's what we used just to walk around in most of the time, keep the sun off of us. I lost the M16 magazine pouches off his front. That is there on his hip. That is the NBC mask right there. So, oh, sorry. Yep. Canteen on that side. All hand painted with brush. And no possible way that I could actually ever replicate this again, because the nerve damage that I got from the Gulf War is so much that I shake, and I couldn't do any precise work like that anymore. So I guess I'm just going to have to keep this one. So I'm going to leave you with some actual footage of an M2A1 Bradley being put through its paces. If you liked the video, like it. If you didn't, don't. Subscribe if you would. But as always, thanks for watching. Nerd out.